Here I go on the next one. I barely changed my position. Part 2 of chapter 11. I'm sorry, chapter 12. Chapter 12. Made a mistake on the last frame. Chapter 12, part 2. I'm on page 34. No one should delude himself that he can acquire virtue and serve God in the proper way. No one should deceive himself that he can become good unless he is willing to undergo a violent struggle. Only the violent bear it away. You've heard that, right? He must conquer the difficulty he will experience when he deprives himself of the pleasures, great or small, to which he has been viciously attached. I can tell you this is true. The result is that very few attain any great degree of perfection. I've heard this 100 times now. After conquering their greatest vice, after undergoing tremendous exertions, they lose courage and fail to pursue their objective. And this when only small trials are to be overcome, such as subduing the feeble remnants of their own will and annihilating some weaker passion, which revive and then completely regain their hearts. I need help here. I got this light falling down. I put it up with Velcro. Many persons of this type, for example, do not take what belongs to others, but they are passionately attached to what is their own. They do not use any illegal methods of aggrandizement, but instead of spurning advancement, they are fond of it and seek it by any means they think lawful. They observe the appointed fasts, but on the other days they indulge in the most exotic delicacies. They are very careful to observe chastity, and yet they refuse to give up their favorite amusements, even though they constitute great obstacles to a spiritual life and real union with God. I know people who give up Facebook for Lent, and then after Lent, they're on it worse than they were beforehand. And so, I don't know. What was the point? Perhaps I'm wrong. I don't know. But it did make me think. I don't think many of us like the devout life. That's what I think. I think we're very happy in the world, many of us. That's what I think. It's just my opinion. I could be wrong. What do you think? Put a comment down. Let me know. Many persons of this type the ones who do not achieve great perfection, after conquering one vice, they go to another, right? Hey, this is nothing new. St. Augustine, in his writings during Lent, was lamenting the fact that Catholics were giving up one delicacy during Lent, and during Lent, indulging in other delicacies. I heard Bishop Sanborn say that. It was a couple of years ago, about 2015. He was telling another priest about, well, he was just reading St. Augustine. He said, he was complaining that they were doing, they give up one thing and then they indulge in another. So this is human nature. Many people of this type do not take what belongs to others. Okay, I read that already. Now, even though they constitute great obstacles to a spiritual life and real union with God, since these things are so highly dangerous, particularly for those who do not recognize their bad results, they must be dealt with very cautiously. What am I talking about? I'll just go back up in the paragraph. They are very careful to observe chastity, and yet they refuse to give up their favorite amusements, even though they constitute great obstacles to a spiritual life and real union with God. Since these things are so highly dangerous, particularly for those who do not recognize their bad results, they must be dealt with very cautiously. Without such caution, we may be assured that most of our good acts will have as attendants slothfulness, vanity, human respect, hidden imperfections, conceit, and a desire for the notice and approval of others. Sound familiar? Anyone who neglects this particular aspect of the problem not only makes no progress on the road to salvation, no progress. Anyone who neglects this particular aspect of the problem not only makes no progress on the road to salvation, but loses ground and is in danger of falling back into his former vicious practices. He does not aim at solid virtue and is unconscious of the great favor God has done him by freeing him from the despotism of the devil. He is ignorant of the danger that surrounds him and is enchanted by a false and deceptive peace. It is necessary here to point out an illusion which must be feared, and it is not easily discovered. Many who begin a spiritual life have too great a love for themselves, if they can be said to truly love themselves, disordered love. And they single out certain exercises that are most pleasant, but they avoid anything that is disagreeable to their inclinations or equipped to mortify their passions, against which their entire force should be thrown in this spiritual struggle. In other words, he's saying we're a bunch of sissies. Not really fighting. You're just ducking. I used to use that word a lot. He ducked. He put his head down so he wouldn't get punched. He didn't run away from the problem. He's just ducking. Every means must be exploited to make them enjoy the hazards they encountered. Every means must be exploited to make them enjoy the hazards they encountered in conquering their inclinations. On this, everything depends. I don't understand that. Every means must be exploited to make them enjoy the hazards they encountered in conquering their inclinations. On this, everything depends. The greater the resolution shown in surmounting the first obstacles that occur, the swifter and more brilliantly will victory accompany them. So the greater the resolution shown in surmounting the first obstacles that occur, the swifter the victory. With courage, therefore, let them expect nothing but hardship in this warfare, and wait patiently for victory and its rewards. Then they may be confident that they will not be disappointed. Many people who hear this will say, that was great. Turn on the television. And they will watch 3 to perhaps 6 hours of television a day. After listening to this, okay, spiritual reading is done. Put on the television. I knew a person, traditional Catholic, who loved television. And I would go and visit this person. And there's a modern day game show. It's on at about, I'm going to say 4 p.m. And this game show exploits women by portraying women in the modern day beauty outfit, beauty contest. You want to see exploitation. Women today are out there screaming women's rights. They are ignorant of the exploitation perpetrated against their gender. If they just look at what they have been trained to incline themselves to be based on the demands of men. They dress the way men want them to dress. And this is not only exploitation perpetrated against them, they're exploiting themselves. Even though they cry out that they have rights and all of that, and they give themselves over to the demands placed on them by sinful men, and they go right along with it. This person watched this television, and the women were in what you might see at the beach, and this friend thought nothing of it, and I would briefly say hello and then leave. And the person thought I was rude, completely ignorant of the fact that I didn't want to be in the room. First of all, I was embarrassed. I'll just say that. I don't want to explain the circumstance because I don't want anybody to know who it was. And so I would leave the room, and the person would accuse me of being unfriendly, completely ignorant of the fact that I didn't want to be in there for that. Anyway, so the television is pumping all of this information into the minds of people, even Catholics, who think nothing of it. And the television it's telling you what's funny. It's telling you what the modern day family is like, what the modern day woman and man is like. It's telling you what you should buy, how your house should look. What should make you feel good about how you look. Call this doctor, he can add this to your face. And all of that. And they just watch it, and they are affected by it, and this is something they willingly accept, despite the fact that their faith says that these things that they see on the screen are not good. And they say, oh, we could avoid it. I have a friend whose brother and or sister is divorced, remarried. And this friend was telling me that when they all get together for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I said, wait a second, aren't you giving scandal by doing that? He says, no, you'd be a good example. I said, how are you being a good example? You be a good example. I left it at that. Didn't want to hear it. Okay. That concludes the Spiritual Combat Chapter 12. For the two of you who listened to this, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm done. Today is Sunday. It's the first Sunday after the Ascension. It's the Sunday within the octave. And thanks for listening. I hope that I shared with you something that could be of benefit to you. And I hope I present it in an entertaining way, not to make you laugh, but to engage you. It's one thing if you're reading like this, it's another thing if you're reading like this and digress sometimes with an interesting anecdote, no? I think so. Actually, it helps me. So I'm done talking. You have a good day. See you on the next one.